I told them that they need to find someone who wants to become a dispatcher, and you train them, you help them to become that. Then you have people who, I always say, they have that in their eyes. They say, yes, I want to become that.
This is the final part with Kelly Costello. We've talked hiring and promotion. Now the payoff. How to test someone before you promote them, and why growth isn't the only definition of success.
So, okay. Yeah. So I really feel like I Peterson principled quite a few people that worked for me
Okay.
because I saw they had talent. I saw potential and I promoted them, but ultimately I didn't myself and the employee did not know that they didn't have the capacity for the position until it was essentially too late. And like
Well,
you really can't demote someone.
what you could do in between, there's one part that you say, okay, you are now team lead. If you're a team leader, you're promoted into a certain position. But what you could check out is to give someone a project. He or she is in charge of the result of that project. It's either after 2 months it's successful or it's not successful. If you're in charge of a project, let's say you implement a certain software in the company, you are in charge for that, and you need to talk to all the other people. You can't force them to do something, but you need to get them on your side to get the result together with them. And of course, you also need to be sometimes a little bit pushy, or you need to take decisions where you are in conflict with others. There you can see if someone has this capability. So you don't need to put someone into the role of the leader, team lead with disciplinary rights to lead a team. But just in a project team, you can test people.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. And I wish I had done something like that in the past.
Yeah, hindsight's always 2020, isn't it? That's one of the things we like to tease out actual real life experiences of founders and so others can learn from our mistakes, right?
Yeah,
but
definitely. That's how I learn, at least.
what I also see very often in with smaller with small companies, that they say, I have this open position. Like we just yesterday I had that case that a logistic company needs a dispatcher. They were also not very big, same size of the company like yours. They have 7 trucks, and the best dispatcher is the owner. And he said, "Oh, I want to be more independent." So they said, "Okay, I try to hire a dispatcher who was in charge of 20 trucks in another company, and he knows and says, suddenly I have someone who can work on that." And that's not working. And it's clear why it's not working, because why does someone who was successful working with 20 trucks or with a bigger company, why should someone like that go back to a company which is smaller, less responsible, and normally less, not that high a salary? So the problem then is you have someone who says, "Oh, it was so much work. Now I have a job where I don't need to work that hard." And that's not what you want. So the better way, instead of getting someone who already done the job, is what you're doing with your people. You try to get the right people who don't have the skill yet. You train for the skill, but who you find someone who has the attitude to do that. In that case, I told them that they need to find someone who wants to become a dispatcher, and you train them, you help them to become that. Then you have people who, I always say, they have that in their eyes. They say, yes, I want to become that. I'm not there yet. I want to become. And you, as the owner of the small company, you are the person who helps them to develop into this direction. That's a much better, you have a much more capable and a much more motivated person who taking over this role.
Yeah, and that definitely has worked for us on the production side because no one has experience working these specific
Mhm.
machines or really working any of these machines. So we take people with good attitudes and who are excited about what we're doing
Right.
and we train them and it's worked out really well for us.
Yep. Very good. Very good. But it took some time until you've done that. You are there right now. How long does it take for you to understand that, to work on that?
So on the operation side, that was pretty easy. It was pretty easy to see we're going to take good people with good attitudes, high integrity, and we're going to train them. And that happened early.
Mhm.
Where I've had all of my challenges, and Brian will tell you, like, I still never figured it out, was front office, like anyone who was non-operations. That's where I had all of my issues. And I think reflecting back is
Okay.
number one, all of my plans were based off of assuming I could hire A players. And that's what a lot of the theories are based off of, like find that A player that's going to go the extra mile, put in, like exceed expectations, work in the gray, make decisions. And what I realized is that I can't get A players because A players want good money, which I could have potentially like worked it out to pay someone really good money, but they also need growth opportunities. And my company did not offer that. The highest position we've ever had
Mm.
here is operations manager. I even used a recruiter for it. Using the recruiter, I hired someone who had some relatable experience being a plant manager. He interviewed really well, and we were very clear about what we wanted. And so he interviewed to be that person. And unfortunately, he didn't have the capacity for it. And
Mm.
because he was a B player. And the reality is, like, my company, in order to hire anyone, it has to be black and white. And that's where B players thrive, where they know what they're supposed to do. There's very little gray. They have to make very few decisions because it's already been figured out. The process has already been created. And that is where I realized, like, I can only get B players. So I have to, if I'm going to hire, it has to be a very thorough, clear, black and white job. And unfortunately, everything that's non-operations is not black and white. And so that's why I don't have any employees outside of operations.
Before we continue, a quick question. Do you actually know how dependent your business is on you right now? Most founders have a gut feeling. They know too much runs through them, but they don't have a clear picture. Where exactly are they the bottleneck? And what would be the next logical step? And that's exactly why I created the Owner Independence Check. It's 16 simple questions. Takes about 5 minutes, and it shows you in a very concrete way where your business stands across 5 critical areas, from your own leadership to structure, strategy, and your team. At the end, you'll get a personalized result, not just a score, but a clear assessment of where you are today and what you should focus on next. The check is free, takes less than 5 minutes, and you'll find the link in the show notes. If that's okay, I would like to challenge you on that.
Okay.
As I said, I think if you are right, if you look for an A player who is already good in what you need, then you hire for a skill. And then you're right. The people say, well, why should I go down to a company who is not that big, who can't offer me that kind of salary or that kind of growth? But if you step down and take someone who has no skills, but has the attitude, and you train someone like that, and then you maybe even say, okay, it's okay if someone like that is only with me for 4 or 5 years, but I will train them to become that manager. And then I also help them to grow into some other areas by stepping out of the company. Just tell me early enough. Tell me 3 months or 6 months if you are not happy, and we find something. And in that 6 months, we get someone else in who starts from scratch, from the bottom. Then it takes longer because you need to train them, but you have the right attitude of the people. And I think you described that very nicely. Otherwise, that's very tough. If you want people who already have the skill, who have this kind of way, that's not working.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely really big challenges with hiring because, again, like, how am I going to find someone in the greater Pittsburgh area that has any skills in e-commerce marketing? It just doesn't exist. So everyone who was hired for outside of operations also had no experience and were like diamonds in the rough, or at least I was hoping they'd be diamonds in the rough. But I still have had challenges. One, the positions here aren't really full time. So the challenge with like a B player is if you only give them 20 hours worth of work, they're going to fill those 20 hours in 40. And so then there's a lot of waste. And like, we're a pretty lean company, so we really can't be wasting. And then the other piece of it, in order to, because I have all the processes in place and I'm
Yeah,
able to
you don't
manage
need.
myself.
Mm.
In order to grow, like I need someone to create more and think more. And that's where it just hasn't really, it hasn't worked for us of hire. I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
we're hiring A players. I
I
don't think we're
think that's
attracting them.
and the way how you describe your company right now, there's also no need for that. I think that's the
Yeah.
major point. If you don't want to grow significantly, you don't need to go that route. And I agree with you that route to find the right person who doesn't have the skill and to have this kind of motivation. And these people are not that easy to find. The point for me is, but they are there. But I fully agree with you. Your company is not, you don't want your company to grow in that way. So why would you go that route? So that makes sense for me. Yeah.
Well, I also want to put out one other thing because I'm almost speaking to myself in like previous years, giving myself advice, is that there is a heavy cost of training someone. There is a heavy toll on me to train someone, and there is a huge emotional burden. There's a heavy toll on me. There's a lot of mental load in me training someone. And something that really pointed out for me where I started realizing the cognitive load of training someone is my alma mater offers free interns. And like some of these interns, I mean, these young people are pretty impressive. And I did it once. And when they asked me to, do it again and bring another intern, I did not want to do it because the mental load on me plus, and then I considered the ROI on that intern, like what I actually got out, it was not worth it. Even though they were free, it still wasn't worth it. So in a perfect world, we find someone who's got a great personality, who also can be uncomfortable in difficult situations, which is another challenge to find that. But there is a cost to training someone who knows nothing about Amazon, knows nothing about e-commerce, and teaching them everything. And, as an entrepreneur, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? And for me, the answer was no. After many years of trying it, the answer is no. And that's why I'm, going a different route and doing a contractor model. If there is something I need on Amazon that I'm not able to do, I hire an Amazon expert. And they charge a lot, $100, $150 an hour, but they're worth it because there's no cognitive load.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes absolutely sense. What you describe is for people who want to grow. They very often underestimate how much energy it means to put this kind of structures, this kind of trainings into place and the costs of it until you grow that out, until you are there. And I fully understand and I like that with you and your company that you said, I definitely decide not to do it. I think that's the major point here. You said, well, I've done that, don't want to do that. And that's totally okay. I think what people should take with them is it's not just okay, it's your way. It's the way you want your company to be, and you are happy with that. So don't let anyone tell you, hey, you don't need to grow. You don't need to grow into this direction. That's you grow into something where you don't want to be. So yeah, I fully understand that.
Yeah, I hope anyone who watches this podcast kind of walks away with understanding that there's other ways to have employees. And there's different ways on what works. And ultimately the last 19 years, but specifically like the last 5 years, 6 years has been me figuring out what is the business model that actually works for me and this company and what our resources actually are and my resources. And so I hope you can walk away thinking, okay, I've got some great tips on if I do want to hire, if I really want to hire someone for position, to have employees, or even like some of the things we talked about are valuable just for me because the employees that I will hire are operations employees. And those are some valuable nuggets on how to test for resiliency, how to figure out if they can be uncomfortable, how to see ways you can interview someone to see if they can possibly be in management.
Very good.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time today, Kelly. And Bernd, thank you for your insight as always. Kelly, just to wrap this up, if somebody listening or watching this wants to buy some puppy cake, what should they do?
The easiest way to buy a puppy cake is to go to Amazon.com and search puppy cake or go to our store there. If you search dog birthday cake, we're usually like in the first 10 items that you can purchase, or go into your local pet store. A lot of pet stores carry our stuff as well.
And if they don't, you should ask them to carry it because, hey,
Yeah,
I bought
definitely.
this off
Thank
of
you.
Amazon. I'd like to buy it here.
Yeah.
So I will check out on German Amazon if it's available. Let's see.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not in Europe yet. We've been focusing on US and Canada.
Okay. So next time when I'm in the North America region, I need to get some cake for my dogs here. Okay, understood.
Yeah, thank you. I love that.
That wraps our 3-part conversation with Kelly Costello of Puppy Cake. Thanks to Kelly and to Bernd for the insight. If this helped, the checklists are in the show notes. See you next week.
Before you go, would your business still run if you stepped away for 3 months? If you're not sure, find out with the free owner independence check. You'll get a clear result and practical insights on where your business still depends on you and what to do about it. It takes about 5 minutes. It's completely free, and you'll find the link in the show notes.